it's me again, Car Chats with Ashleydawn. I just wanted to talk to you today about the gift of influence. We all have the gift of influence. How we use it is oftentimes different, right? Some people use their gift of influence and they are salespeople and they use it for business. Some people, they use their gift of influence to be a mentor or a big brother or a big sister to somebody in their community. The Big Sisters Big Brother program is huge. Some people use their gift of influence to hurt people, as sad as it is. Some people use their gift of influence to encourage. Some people use their gift of influence to bring about change, right? Some of the biggest movements, if you will, was basically somebody saying, hey, I have a voice. I'm going to speak up for, ocean, I don't even know, preservation. I'm going to speak up for the turtles. And so I'm going to work with like-minded people and I'm going to use my voice to save the turtles and to do away with straws in places like the beaches that, sometimes people make bad choices and they're drunk and they leave their straws on the beach and they hurt sea turtles. Sometimes people use their gift of influence to use it for maybe a political party, or maybe they use it in a church, what have you. I can't talk about other people because I don't know their lives, I don't know their motives, I don't know their agendas, but I can talk about myself. I can talk about my own agenda. I can talk about my own motives. And I discovered at a very early age, I was probably 2 or 3, and you can ask my mom, I discovered that when I spoke, people listened and that I had the gift of influence. And sometimes I used that on the playground to get my friends to play a certain game with me that I wanted to play, whether it was Ring Around the Rosie or Hide and Go Seek or Cops and Robbers or what's the other one we used to play? Duck, Duck, Goose. But then I also realized that I had influence to help people make better choices. And so when I was a little girl, I would go to Sunday school and I would learn all these stories about Jesus and about how he came to love people, and I would encourage other people to love. And then when I got a little bit older, I understood that I could encourage people to stop cussing around me. And so when I was a little girl, I had a little cuss jar, and my daddy's friends would come over, and most of the time they were some crazy bikers and they would cuss a whole bunch, and I didn't like it. And so I used my voice to encourage them to put money in a jar as a consequence for making bad choices and saying bad words around a little girl. But I learned that I had a gift of influence, right? I had a voice. And then when I became a teenager, and even when I was in elementary school, I realized that I could use my influence to help people with special needs. And so I volunteered at an ESE class for special needs students when I was in 5th grade. Well, when I was in 4th and 5th grade, I helped out with a kindergarten class, and I loved it. I volunteered at church on the weekends. Ever since I was a little girl, I helped the Sunday school class, and I'd help my Sunday school teachers, and I'd get lessons together, and sometimes I'd even help her with maybe acting something out. But I always wanted to use my gift of influence for good. Now, have I always used it for good? No, definitely not. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. And then when I was in pageants for a bunch of years, my idea of I wanted to impact the world. I wanted to change the world. So I thought, well, if I could just be Miss USA, right? If I could be Miss USA, then I'll have this huge platform and people will listen to me and I'll have this huge influence. I didn't pan out the way that I thought it would. My morals didn't really align with theirs. And after trying and failing, I decided that was not what God had for me. And I really sensed that the Lord was speaking to me, that he had more for me than just a crown and a title, that he had a crown in heaven that I didn't have to compete for, right? So I say all that to say, I've been very aware of my influence. And when I've, this cars get real close to me. When I have misused it, I have immediately been like, oh my gosh, God, I am so sorry. And I've prayed, God, thank you for my gift of influence. Please let me never take it for granted. And please let me always point back to you with anything that I'm doing. Let it bring you glory. And so as a teenager, when I was in high school, I started mentoring younger girls, and I started teaching younger girls. And then when I graduated high school, I started teaching girls ministries and mentoring middle and high school girls. And I've done that ever since, which has been like, one of the churches I do it, it's been like around 13 years. And another church, I did it for about 5 years before that. So I've tried my best to use my influence to help the people around me. And something that I've realized is everybody needs help, right? Like, I need help, you need help, we all need help. And the more that we can use what we've been given to bless the people around us, to speak into their lives and to encourage them and to champion them and to come alongside and just say, hey, what's your God dream? Like, what kind of dream do you have that you know God has given you? And how can I help you achieve it? How can I help you do what God's put in your heart? And then, sometimes it's tough love. Sometimes it's when you see somebody making bad choices, understanding if you have a place of authority in their life, that you can speak wisdom to them, saying, hey, I've noticed that you're drinking a lot, and you're not drinking casually. You're drinking to get drunk. Is there a reason? Like, is there something that you're trying to work through? Is there something that you are struggling with and you think that alcohol is going to help it? Because it's not, and maybe I can help you. Or maybe you have a friend that their boyfriend or their girlfriend, because it's not just girls getting abused, it's guys getting abused too. Maybe you have a friend that their boyfriend or girlfriend is abusing them and harming them, and you want to speak into their life and say, hey, you are worth more than rubies, and you are special, and nobody should be abusing you, right? And that's some hard love, but you have the gift of influence, and if they're your friends, you should love them enough to want the best for them. So anyway, you have a gift of influence. If you're watching this, you have the gift of influence, and God wants to use you to impact somebody's life, whether it be your neighbor, whether it be your family member, whether it be a sibling, or it could be anybody. It could be your teacher. We don't realize how much people are watching us, especially as believers and people that follow Christ. The world is watching us, and they're not watching us the way we think they are. They're watching us to see if what we believe is real. All that to say, if I say I believe in Jesus and I say that I love the Lord, am I willing to prove it by my actions? Am I willing to prove it by the things that I say, by the way that I treat people, by the way that I love people? Am I willing to show it through my actions? Or do I just want to wear a cross t-shirt? Or do I just want to have a bumper sticker on my car? Right? There's a big old difference. So I just want to encourage you today. You have influence. You have a voice, and your life matters more than you probably even realize that it does. And so use that influence to impact somebody in a positive way. Speak life into them, encourage them, help them to do what God's called them to do, and don't allow fear or intimidation or caring what people think, or maybe fear that they're going to reject you or they're not going to approve of what you have to say. Don't let that stand in your way of using your voice to bless someone and using your voice to be an encouragement to somebody. I'm using my little voice on a cell phone and uploading it to YouTube and Facebook and all that jazz because I'm hoping that my influence could influence others to influence others, and that maybe if I just have some joy and some hope and some love and I pass it to the next person and they have some hope and some joy and some love, then they can pass it to the next person, and then everyone can have joy, hope, and love, right? If we keep passing it down the line, I just think it could be beautiful. So I just wanted to jump on here. Jump! No, I was kidding. I just wanted to encourage you to use your influence and your voice to impact the world around you. You don't have to be Billy Graham, and Billy Graham's amazing, and he literally has changed millions and millions of people's lives, but you don't have to be him to change someone's life. If you just use your one most precious life and you just influence one person, who knows? That person may then influence a million people, or not. They may influence one person. But if we just looked small instead of looking, grandiose and big, and we could really impact the world if we just included one person, invited one person, celebrated one person, influenced one person. If you would like to be a mentor, if you would like to be part of the Boys and Girls program, the Boys and Girls Big Brothers and Big Sisters program, I highly encourage you to check that out. You could be a really big blessing to somebody that maybe has a single mom and maybe she doesn't have the time to impact their life the way that she wishes she could, or maybe there's a single dad and maybe he wishes he could be there for his son, but he can't because he's trying to put food on the table, and maybe you could fill a need, and maybe it was only a couple hours a week, but those couple hours a week could impact somebody's life so dramatically that you could change the course of their life just by using your life and your voice and your influence to encourage them in a positive way. We've been given so much, even when we feel like we haven't, even when we struggle with bills or with emotional stuff or with school or with jobs or with health, we still have been given so much. And if we just looked beyond ourselves and helped one person, oh my goodness, what an impact we can make on the world around us. So you have influence, even if you think you don't, and that influence matters. How you use it matters. Don't use it for yourself. Use it for others. Influence others to love God more. Influence others to be better human beings and put more love out than they take. And just spread love, spread joy, spread the truth of Christ, and that he came to save everyone, not just some, right? Whosoever believes. Love y'all. Have a great day.